This is a chat widget connected to n8n backend. And the widget that I'm using here is built with n8n chat UI. So whether you're using this or building your own custom chat widget, this video guide will be helpful for both purposes, as the underlying template or the workflow is going to be the same no matter which front end you use. Right? And also the template that I'll be using will be linked below for you to download. And without any delay, let's start talking to a chatbot. Right? So as usual, you can have textual conversations with the widget. This is nothing special. So now let me just hit this microphone icon and start talking to it. Hello, what's the capital of Portugal? And as soon as I complete my speech, I can just hit the submit button and says the capital of Portugal is Lisbon. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. Perfect. So it received the audio message and then came up with the response. And then since our widget also accepts files and images, what I'm going to do is just quickly upload one and ask a simple question. So I'll probably pick this one. I don't know what bird this is, but as soon as I upload this, hello, what bird is this? Let me just wait for it. So it says the bird appears to be a kingfisher. Okay. Yeah, it contains a lot more information. As soon as I hit this microphone icon, I'm seeing this pop-up asking me to allow access to the microphone. Right? And this should only be asked once if you're hosting the widget on the website. Since I'm using a static web page, right, it's a simple HTML file that I'm rendering on browser. So that's why it's asking me every single time. But if you're doing it on a website, then it should only ask once. Just allow, and then you can process this. Perfect. And if you just decide to block this, so you're going to get this message saying microphone access was denied, and then it asks user to give back the permission. Right? So this is how you can allow your users to record and send audio messages and process those audio files in the backend and create a voice driven chat experience. Perfect. So let me just go to the next section, which is talking about the backend, which is our n8n workflow. Don't feel intimidated by looking at this. So this is just an extension of one of my previous builds, which talks about how to handle file uploads and images. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it somewhere on top. Right? You can watch that after completing this video. So it not only accepts audio, but also accepts files, images, PDFs, CSVs, JSONs, XML files, and all different kinds of inputs, right? And process those inputs and generate a response, right? So this is that workflow, and at the bottom I've just extended to another use case, which is accepting audio files and then generating a response from it, right? So this is how it looks like. But if you're just looking for processing audio, then you can just take a look at this one. So what I've done is just took out all the unnecessary inputs that I had in my previous workflow and just added this one. So this only accepts audio and text and then generates a response based on that. So what I'm going to do is just copy this chat trigger to this workflow and have a very quick conversation so that I can go through how everything is being handled internally. Right. Let me just save it, go back and ask a simple question again. What's the capital of Japan? Let me just wait. It says the capital of Japan is Tokyo. Perfect. So we just take a look at the executions, right? So you can see this workflow got executed. And now let me go through each one of these nodes and explain what's happening underneath. So inside this chat trigger node, if you just see, so if you're using n8n chat UI, it also sends metadata, and you can also define your own custom metadata if you want to, and you can receive it on the backend here. And you can see the chat input is an empty string, as we are sending the chat input as the audio, right? So you can see the files. Inside the file we have our audio file in the form of binary, right? If you just click on this binary section, you can see this is what we have. And if you click on view, you can view the same audio that we just provided in the input, right? So this is what we receive from our front end, right? Our audio file in the form of binary. And what we do over here is I just added a simple code block which just extracts the incoming binary and then just puts it into a list, right? So the reason why we do this is very simple. We can't really deal with binaries directly in n8n as far as I know. So I'm just taking a look at the input and then extracting the binary into a separate list. So what that gives me is it extracts the data like MIME type, file extension, and along with that, I get the data. So the data that we're seeing here is in the form of base 64. It's a base 64 string. So we're going to use this again further down in our workflow to extract the content, right? Okay. So what it gave us is a simple list, right? A single list of file content, and then just passing it through a split out node. So that gives me a flat out array which I can just pass it to our loop node, and then it just takes it and then it passes to our workflow, next workflow, which is responsible for processing audio files, right? So what we're doing here is this node takes in the base 64 data. Remember, we're getting this, we're extracting this from our code node here. So that base 64 data is being passed to this. So this node takes care of converting that base 64 into binary back again. So just click on view. You're going to see the same audio file that we've seen initially. And after that, this is the most important node, I would say. So this is the transcription node that we're using. So it takes in the audio and then transcribes and extracts the text out of it, right? So what I'm doing is I'm using OpenAI's transcription model in order to achieve what I want here. So this node takes in the binary and then extracts the text from it, right? So this is what happens internally. So what I'm doing is I'm using OpenAI's transcription model, and if I had to take show you what's happening, so if I just go over here, so this is how it looks like. And if I had to show you the models available, just type OpenAI models, and if you just go to the bottom, you can see a section called as transcription, right? So these are all the models available from OpenAI, and you can choose any other LLM providers as well, not just sticking to OpenAI. And here you can see 4o transcribe, 4o mini transcribe, and whisper, right? So I'm using this 4o mini. It's a very small model, right? And if you just click on this, you can read more about it and in terms of pricing, usage, and all the other details that you need, right? And if you want to use that, then you might have to hit this endpoint, and which I'll show you here. So this is the transcription section, and it talks about how you can use their API. And if you just click on curl, so this is the endpoint that you need to use. If you just make a request to this and pass in your API key, and along with that pass in your mp3 file, which is in the form of binary, and also choose the model that you want to use, right? So you're saying it's you can see 4o transcribe, but you can choose between 4o, 4o mini, or whisper, right? So this is how you need to make a request, and once you do that, it gives you back a text extracted from the audio, right? If you want to also support other languages, then you might also probably take a look at this supported languages section, right, where it says all the different kinds of languages that, right, it accepts as input, right, and then it gives back the output. So if I just talk a little bit in Portuguese, let me just try to do that. Como estás? So that means hello, I believe, in Portuguese. Let me just wait for it. Okay, it came up with this response in Portuguese. Let me just try to translate this. Portuguese to English. Okay, it says this. It's a greeting, right? Now, if you want to have this response in English, then what you can do is just use the translation service, right? Not transcription, but the translation service. So it takes in input in all these different languages and then gives you back the response in English, right? Which you can then process and return back in English. So if you want to do that, then you can probably take a look at translations. Right? And it also says we only support translation into English at this time. So any other languages, if you want to convert it back to English, then you can use translation service in between the workflow in order for you to achieve that. Right? Perfect. And just go back and continuing with this. So I'm basically following the same details that's given in the documentation here in the transcription section. Right? You need to pass in the authorization, which is the API key, and then set the content type. And along with that, these are the two other important options that we need to pass, which is the file itself, which we need to transcribe, and also we need to choose the model that we want to use. Right? The same thing I'm doing here. I'm setting the form data model. I'm choosing the 4O mini transcribe model, and for the file, I'm just picking the one which I'm receiving from the previous node, right, which is our binary data. So once I do this and make a request, it just transcribes and gives me back the text content, which I'm just passing it back to our agent over here. You can see. So I'm just checking for two different kinds of inputs. The first one checks for any textual input, right, from the chat box. If I can't find anything there, then I'm taking a look at the response. If there's any response from our transcription service, right, I can find it over here, and then I'm just going to use that as an input and then just send it over to LLM to generate the response. Right. Perfect. So that's it. So this is how this workflow works. Now let me just move back to the next section, which is how can you set it up yourself. As I said, the template is available for you to download. So the first thing is download the ready-made template and get started fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you this template, which includes both workflow. You can use whichever you feel comfortable with, and adjust and adapt with your existing workflows. Right? You can adjust and adapt based on your use case and requirements. And after that, talking about the front end, right? You have two different options. One is using n8n chatui.com, which I've already shown you here. This widget is built using n8n chatui, or you can also use your own custom front end. That's not a big issue. Yeah, just another point which I forgot to mention is I'm using this custom node here. So I'm using this request HTTP request node to make an API request for transcription. What you can do is otherwise there's an inbuilt node inside the n8n, which is called you just type OpenAI, and then over here it says transcribe by recording, right? If you just click on this basically does the same, right? You don't need to uh, use this custom HTTP request node for transcribing the audio, right? You can use this default node. It does the same thing basically. All you have to do is just provide the same binary data to this as an input, right? You can use this and provide it to the loop node, and this should also work in the same manner. So there's no difference. So the only benefit that I see getting from using this custom way is you can choose the kind of model that you want to use, and also play with different kinds of options that the API gives you, right? So for example, you can choose the model that you want to use here. So you can't do this with the built-in node because it always uses the whisper model, right, which is expensive compared to the 4 mini, right? So this is what happens, right? So if you use the custom approach, then you have this flexibility of choosing between different models, or you get various options to play with the API. But if you're using this built-in node, then you don't really have much option, right? And you just have to stick to the default ones. So this is just one point I had to mention. Now let's get back. Let me just show you how you can do it very quickly using n8nchatui.com. So if you just go to the site n8nchatui.com and just log in if you haven't already into your dashboard, and you can see all the widgets that you already have, or you can just create a new one. Let me just create a new one for this demo. Video audio demo. Okay, as soon as you do that, it gets added here in the list, and it comes with a default configurations here for this widget, and you can just customize it however you want, right? Okay, you have all these options here. You can customize every single part of it. And going inside this window, and the way you enable the voice input settings is by going to this Windows section here in this panel. And if you just scroll down a bit, you can see at the bottom it says voice input settings, right? So if you just click on this, you can see a switch, and if you just enable that, and as soon as you do that, you can see a microphone icon here in the text input, which allows users to provide audio as inputs. And not just that, you also have two more options, which is you can set the maximum recording time in seconds, right? So that users don't just go on recording forever. So it's that limit you can set here. So by default, it's set to 15 seconds. And you also have another option which is called recording not supported message. So if the user's browser doesn't support audio recording, then they would see this message. You can also customize this, right? And that's all you have to do. Just enable this toggle and set these two values as required. As you do that, that's it, and just click on save, and your widget is now ready. And not just pop-up, you can also choose between different styles, whether if you want to go for pop-up style or in page. Let me just choose in page and click on save. And after that, all I have to do is just copy the embed code. I'm gonna first have to paste this section inside the body of the web page where I want to show my widget. So this I've already done. You've already seen that in the demo. It's somewhere here. Let me just scroll to it. Just find it. Yeah, it's over here. I've already added this. All I have to add is the script in itself. So if you just scroll down, I'm just going to replace the existing script with the one which I just created from the dashboard. And after that, I just have to paste my webhook URL, which is the uh, n8n chat nodes webhook URL. So I'm just going to copy this and make sure this toggle is enabled, which is make chat publicly available, and also make sure the mode is set to embedded chat. Once you do that, and and the course is set to accept all requests, right, from all origins. And you also need to make sure to activate this workflow so that it can receive external inputs, right? And once you do that, just paste your webhook URL here. And if I just refresh this page again, so you can see the new widget with the new styling that we just customized from the dashboard, right? And as usual, we have this voice input feature, and users can start accessing it right away. Perfect. So we've done all of this within a couple of minutes without writing a single line of code, right? So this is the flexibility or the privilege that we get from using n8n chat UI. So these are the three steps as I've mentioned. So first you have to create a widget, customize as required, and enable and configure your voice input settings. And after that, just add that into your web page and connect it with your agent, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Or if you don't want to use n8n chat UI and you want to build your own custom widget or custom frontend, you can do that as well. So just make sure you're passing the audio input in the form of binary, and then use the same template here that's given to you, and you can accept audio and use the same template to process it further. Perfect. And finally, thank you so much for watching this video till the end. And if you have any more questions, just feel free to let me know in the comment section. And check out n8nchatui.com and launch your widget with voice input in minutes for free. And not just that, you can customize it however you want. And you also have option to file uploads, which I added in my previous video as an update. And you can also accept different kinds of files, images, and different inputs and process it, and create a beautiful and seamless experience for your users. And after that, if you want to work with me to build practical workflows, automations, or AI solutions, or if you're just unsure on how AI can benefit you and your business, you can just book a no cost consultation call using the link provided below, and this is that link. And you can also download the resources. Like I said, most probably it's just the n8n workflow that you're seeing here, and where you're going to get both of these flows within the same template, and you can download it and use it as required. And also let me know what you would like to see next, and I'll probably try to cover that in my next video. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I'll see you again in another video. Until then, take care. Good day.